Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
What if the encouragement the world needs most is already living inside our children? Welcome back to Big Little Lessons. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Christine. Jenny and I have been teaching partners together for close to 20 years. We believe that the lessons that we teach and learn come back again and again throughout your lifetime.
So today's conversation is one of those stories that reminds us just how powerful children can be when we really listen.
Our guests today are two educators who created something simple, something so beautiful and deeply meaningful. A project that spread encouragement across classrooms, across communities, and eventually the entire world.
You may already know it as Peptoc, the student-created encouragement hotline that went viral and reminded millions of people that hope is alive and well.
And now their work continues through their book, which is called You Are Amazing Like a Rocket, and also through a growing global movement of kindness and connection.
We are so happy to welcome the co-creators of Peptoc, Asherah, Weiss, and Jessica Martin.
Yay! Thank you.
Okay, so before we dive into Peptoc, we'd love to get to know each of you. Can you share a little bit about your journey into education?
Sure. Yeah. This is Asherah's voice.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, I would say that I've just always worked with people as a community artist, and I think education was just a natural progression of doing that. So in college, I did a lot of projects with placemaking, so like taking back the streets and gardening and thinking about how we use public space. And over time, have been part of a lot of community projects. And eventually I thought, I need to figure out how to get paid. So I decided to go back to school and actually get my art teaching credential.
Nice.
And so I've been officially in education since then, since about 2018. But I feel like I've always been working with people of all different ages. So,
do you have a particular age group that you like to work with?
I feel like I fall in love with every age group, but I became a full-time teacher with middle schoolers. And I think people were really shocked that middle school, but I find especially sixth graders to be really exciting. They're excited about life. They're still connected a little bit to that elementary school, just magic, and they're all goofy and everything. So I like that 5th and 6th grade age. It's really fun for me.
I think it is a calling, that middle school teacher.
Yeah.
And that's how we feel working in kindergarten.
Yes, because I don't feel like I could handle that. It's a whole other set of skills. And for middle school, I'm a total goofball, but I'm playing with them, and it's different. Kindergarten, you're like somehow orchestrating a whole group of small bodies.
However, they're just bigger kindergartners at the end of the day.
That's probably true.
Yes, that's been my experience when I see some of my former students in middle school. I'm like, they are exactly the same. They're just taller.
Yeah, it's funny.
Jessica, how about you? What's a little bit about your education journey?
I started after college. I studied anthropology in college and then got a minor in painting. Art and people have always been my trajectory. When I moved to the small town where I live now, I started working with kids and offering art workshops to kids, and I really fell in love with working with them. I did workshops here and there also for adults as well. My kids, they were both in the same elementary school, and the current principal was about to retire, and she cornered me one day and said, Jessica, I need you to start an art program for the school. And I said, I have worked with kids. I'm not entirely sure that I would like to do that more. I have to try it out. So I started a pilot program, and of course, day one, fell madly in love with it. I've been working with that school on and off. I think it's been 10 years now.
That's incredible.
What an incredible gift that principal gave to me. I think she saw it in me, and every day I'm really grateful that she asked me to do that.
So when you started 10 years ago, did you have a baseline, or you created this art program at this school?
I created it from scratch with very little research or knowledge of anything that I was doing. Zero class management skills. I had no idea. So I've just sort of learned along the way, with the teachers kind of guiding me and helping me along. But I'm very clear on what I want to pass on to the kids. Having worked with adults, I know what, as much as I possibly can, the kind of work and joy and freedom and curiosity I want them to continue from very early on, because many of those adults have so much trauma from when they were in kindergarten. Someone told them they couldn't draw, and they haven't drawn since. So that's been my mission, is to just keep that curiosity and playfulness alive.
Oh,
yeah.
So you've been working alongside teachers, but you're also in the classroom sometimes.
I'm in the classroom, and then usually I take them as a specialty class. I'll take them and do projects with them. Yeah. So that's that class. I'm working from kindergarten all the way through 6th grade.
Right. So like at our school, we call that a specialist teacher,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. But you also are a specialist teacher in that sense.
I don't have a particular job in a school all the time. I get to move to different schools. I also work in the libraries, and it kind of just depends on what evolves. And so I worked in the classroom full time for 2 years and decided that I didn't want to be in one place, and also had a challenging time at the school I was at, just administrative challenges. And COVID started right as I was becoming a teacher. So it was quite a tumultuous time. And then I really like the freedom of moving in and out of spaces. I feel like I get to be that guest person that gets to bring my energy and bring my ideas, and people who are aligned with the way that I teach and what I like to offer are excited for that. And so I get to show up, and feels like a gift both directions.
I love what you guys do is you're finding your way, and it doesn't have to be this certain curriculum style or as one classroom. You have a lot of creative outlets, and what a gift that is, and all the different places that you get to explore.
Yeah.
So I have to know, how did you two get to know each other? What's your story?
Back when I was full-time teaching at Healdsburg Junior High in Healdsburg, where we both were living at the time, there was an arts and culture group where we were kind of thinking about what the future of Healdsburg was going to be with arts and culture, and we were both in that. And during COVID, we were all online, and I just remember being in this Zoom room and seeing Jessica there and just kind of having this artist crush on her and knowing what she was up to. And then eventually we connected. Jessica invited me to work at Westside. So just to say, I went to Westside Elementary School, where Jessica does her program, runs the arts program. So it was really special to be invited back. And so we just started talking about what we wanted to do as just a one-day project. And that's how the Peptoc project was born. It was the first collaboration we had together. And we hadn't worked together at all before that. But I think we both felt a kinship around our styles and the type of community arts that we are both engaged in.
I think sometimes, once in a blue moon, you meet that person and just have instant affinity, even on his Zoom room, and that's incredibly rare to really feel that connection. And then to get to work with her, I mean, I just knew it was going to be good. And now it's, of course, even better than I could have imagined. To find that kind of working partner is pretty extraordinary.
What do you think it is in particular about your partnership that works so well?
I think our personality types kind of dovetail into one another so well. And I think we bring out different sides of ourselves in a really beautiful way. Ash prides herself in her zaniness and her theatrics. And that, my whole background as a child was all in theater. And so I get to tap back into that again. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how we communicate. And being a professional artist for 25 years, I'm very self-employed. This is what you do. We got to do this. And these are our goals. And I'm very much editing and getting it all straight. And so that's kind of the role I naturally take. And she has this wonderful creative way of really looking back at the greater perspective on things and saying, oh, we need to take account of this group of people, and this group may not understand if we're communicating it that way. And so just getting to be with one another is really exciting. And hey, that doesn't happen often.
No. Yeah. When you find that person and you can work so well together like you two do, that's great.
It's such a gift.
Yeah. I'm smiling so much because I feel like Jenny and I found that. So you're describing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of shared values. We really value experimentation. And then Jessica's really good at simplifying, like she said, editing. And so we work together well like that, and just kind of stepping outside of the art world to be like, how do we make things inclusive and accessible, easy, fun, and just joyful. So
we're completely aligned in what we think the role that art needs to play in our lives and how we want to communicate that and how we want people to experience it. To get to have that fundamental value system, I think we both already had in place before we met one another, and then to see that echo one another over and over again, I think that's a really important part of our relationship.
Yeah,
that kind of really deep fundamental values that we've kind of invented on our own too, and for that to come together is very kismet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Do you feel like it would have been more difficult to launch such an important project on your own, not having somebody there with you who was on board with the same idea and supporting one another?
Yeah, I remember when I first asked Asherah to come join the project, I was very proud of myself because I don't usually ask for help. And I said, I'm going to ask for help with this project. And it would be really fun, to get to work with Asherah, but also I'm going to delegate. Jessica, you're going to delegate.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself. And I think, being able to split up the work like that was this really incredible experience.
I have to remind Jessica that she doesn't have to do everything.
No.
She's very self-sufficient.
It's the self-employment malady. Yeah. I mean, you're really good at all kinds of things, but not really good at it. So.
No, and two creative minds are more powerful than one creative mind, right?
Yes, and so much more fun. I feel like, of course I could have done this on my own, but it would not have been as joyful and fun to do this. And also, there's many parts of this where this was our idea. It wasn't just my idea. So there's so many elements of this that I wouldn't have ever thought of. So there's so much more depth to the overall experience working together than just on our own.
Well, before we start talking, I want to unwrap Peptoc and how you got the name and how it got started and all that. We always ask our guests, what is your earliest school memory? So thinking back, dial it back.
I remember preschool.
Okay.
I remember, first of all, it's this historic, tiny little schoolhouse in rural Healdsburg. And I remember a little playhouse, like you could play house in it, you could play store or whatever. And I remember a girl named Brittany was like mom. And she would play mom, and I was a little kid. And I had one memory of getting pushed around a little bit. There were these kids up in this tree that you could climb up into, and they were like, "You can't play with us. You're too short." I was like, "Really? Okay." There's the photo of me probably in one of the first days of preschool in the sandbox with a girl named Jenna who became a best friend of mine. And my mom said I wouldn't turn around to take a photo. I just was playing like right away. I was just right in the sandbox with my friend.
I can picture you in preschool.
I was like, "Bye, Mom. I'm going to play with my friends now.
That's
This is
great.
my new life."
Oh. So you had a very positive experience in starting school.
I did, yeah. And then that preschool was right next to Westside Elementary, where I went K through 5th grade.
You went to Westside
Yeah.
Elementary. This is
Yeah.
a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? How about you, Jessica? What's your earliest school memory?
Mine's also preschool. I went to a little tiny Montessori school that was in I think it was next to or part of a convent. A lot of the teachers were nuns. But the first memory that came to mind as soon as you asked that was the head teacher was in a wheelchair. And she was this beautiful, vivacious woman. And there was this hill. I mean, in my memory, that was a really big hill that went from the school down to the parking lot where our parents would pick us up. And she would put each of us one at a time on her wheelchair and just let go.
No.
And just zoom a million miles an hour down the hill and then stop just in time before she got to the parking lot. And I mean, she was so fantastic.
And she taught preschool.
And she taught preschool in a wheelchair. And then her partner was this it's like if you were to draw in your mind's eye a very strict, skinny, really severe nun with a tight blonde bun. Mm-hmm. That was her. I mean, you can see it. She was so mean. And so you had these two sides. I remember she would be the one she'd wash out the kids' mouths with soap if they swore.
Oh, in preschool?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In a Montessori preschool.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of Trunchbull.
Yeah,
Me too. I just watched Matilda. My nieces were in Matilda.
Yeah, she was a character right out of Matilda. But my greatest memory I'm holding is of that extraordinary woman who, was the main.
Do you remember her
teacher.
name?
It'll come to me, and I did remember for a very long time. But I remember going into town. We had moved away, and I came back, and I was in my teens, and here she comes, and she comes right up to me and says, "Jessica, how are you?" She recognized me from my 4-year-old self, and it instantly recognized me. So
I just got chills.
yeah,
That is so beautiful.
Such a devoted person. So that's my early memory.
We'll nickname her Miss Honey for today.
Lori.
Lori.
Her name is Lori. Yep. But she was fantastic. But the other memory was my daughter went to a Montessori, and I remember touring the school and all of the little beads and everything. And I had this visceral memory of they had these counting beads. I wanted to put them in my mouth and chew on them.
Chewing on beads.
Chewing on beads.
They must have been very pretty.
Or resistant
tasty.
chewing on beads, maybe.
Oh, I doubt I did.
I'm sure those beads went up noses and ears.
Yeah.
I think what I love hearing about people's earliest school memories is so much of it is sensory related, like through your senses. That's what we remember. We don't remember, learning ABCs or short vowels. No, it's the experiences that we have. It's the being in the wheelchair, going down a ginormous hill, which probably was not a ginormous hill, but in your little mind, it was a ginormous hill, right? Yeah. And playing in the sandbox and opening the doors of the little house. Like those are the memories that live inside of us forever. And I just think they become a part of us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the emotions, carrying all the emotional memory, how you're feeling going down. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, let's talk about Peptoc. First of all, how did you get that fabulous name, Peptoc?
Well, it was pretty basic.
Just literally.
The kids were giving pep talks.
Yeah, so we thought, Pep Talk. We can just call it that. And then August, Jessica's son, who was in kindergarten or first grade at the time, already had really cool lettering style. So we just asked him, could you just write out Peptoc for us? And he spelled it Peptoc. And so that's how the name stuck and is spelled that way.
So Peptoc is Peptoc.
Yeah,
Peptoc.
and that's how he spelled it
he
out. And he
spelled
put
it
it as one
phonetically.
word. Yeah, which looks great. And yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So you came up with the name. The kids were giving each other pep talk, and this was March of 2022.
22. It actually goes back before that. We didn't have a name for the project until after we had done the project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's back
we
it
were
up.
just like fly by the seat of our pants, we figured out what we wanted to do, but it wasn't until afterwards that we came up with
That's
the
the
name.
other thing that makes our partnership so good is that both of us have no problem flying by the seat of our pants.
Nice.
So we go for it.
Yeah, we're improvisers.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
So in 2022, Jessica reached out, let's do a project together. Okay, what do we want to do? I remember actually being on my headphones, driving on the freeway, talking to Jessica about what we wanted to do. And we were thinking about another project that I had done with another colleague called the Hopeful Monsters Project. And that was a social emotional project where young people created soft sculptures or stuffies based on something that they were struggling with in their lives. And that was middle school and high school. So we thought, how could we translate that idea of building compassion for each other and make it elementary school age, that we could do it kindergarten through sixth, make it simple enough so that we could go from classroom to classroom just back to back in one day. Mm-hmm. And then we evolved the idea of going and asking this one guiding question, which is, what could you do or say for someone who was having a hard day? And that was our leading question.
Yeah, I think the inspiration also came from the kids. I mean, they had just been through COVID. Several had lost their homes in wildfires. We had all evacuated multiple years in a row. And as someone who got to be around them, I got to listen to them supporting one another and hearing how, advice they were giving each other and also themselves. I was just so impressed with how they functioned through that difficult time. And I said, well, I get to hang out with this and I'm so buoyed by it. I think we should share this with the local community so that they can be lifted up a little bit too. So
kind of platforming their messages and their voices and what is the wisdom they are coming up with through all of these hardships.
And you wanted to make it elementary, and so then you think their words of encouragement are wonderful. So did you have them start with the visuals and then go into the next phase?
Well, we knew that we wanted to do posters and a hotline. I'd always wanted to do a hotline, and I was just waiting for whatever project to come along. And I was so excited. I said, "This is it! I found it." I said, "Ash, can I do the hotline? You think that's good?" She's like, "Yeah, Jessica, whatever you want to do,
whatever." Jessica.
We knew the format. We knew what it was going to look like. We knew we wanted to have them make posters and put them up all over town. And the inspiration behind that was, garage sale posters or lost pet posters. So we talked with one another how we were going to present that to the kids because, first we had to make sure they had seen posters like that before. So we had some images and some samples that we showed them of actually artists playing with that idea of like the flyer on the telephone pole. And then we had to explain to them what a hotline was. And I mean, the way we talked about it, we said, when your parents and they're on the phone and they won't talk to you, but they're really frustrated and they're punching buttons all the time. And, trying to get through, and then they're on hold, and then it gets dropped and they're frustrated. And we said, that's a hotline. And we said, there are positive hotlines, but that's one. And then we said, any of the flyers on the telephone poles, and they said, yeah, usually those are people lost their pet or something. I said, well, let's make that better too. So let's improve on the hotline idea, and let's improve on the lost pet on the telephone pole idea. And then when we asked the guiding question, what's something you could do or say to help someone who's having a hard day? I mean, most of the kids, all their hands shot up right away. So that was actually the easy part. It's just something they were already thinking about.
So their ideas, it was the ideas were the easy part. I was thinking, when I look at all the posters in your book, I was wondering that, because at the bottom when they have their little, it's almost like if you go into a message board and it's like somebody trying to get a babysitting job, and then at the bottom they have all these little things that you can tear off.
The tear off tabs.
The tear off tabs. I was like, that's genius that they included tear off tabs on their posters. And I was wondering that.
We planted that idea. We thought that would be really fun. If there's some interactive thing that if you found a poster on the street that you could take a tab, and the tab might have another little message that you could take with you. So, showing the lost dog poster and saying, yeah, you put your number on all these little tabs and then people can take it. So, yeah.
Not ever.
Yeah, just showing
a message. You could put a message or a drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you go about creating your hotline and getting the recordings? For those that are listeners who haven't heard of Peptoc.
So maybe just framing the whole thing. We went classroom to classroom in one day, kindergarten through 6th grade.
Okay.
We presented what Jessica just explained, and then we gave them pieces of paper with Sharpies and maybe also pencils, but we really wanted to emphasize, we're making this bold, and we didn't give them too much time to do it. We just wanted them to really trust their instincts and share whatever message came to them. And so anyone who wanted to went outside with Jessica to record their voice. So she gave them that option as something, completely optional. Not everyone took her up on it, but she got all these recordings, and then
Just on your phone?
Just on my cell phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it. Outside the classroom, outside. Yeah, no special equipment whatsoever.
Yeah.
I also knew that, in my research, I knew that a hotline wasn't stereo sound, so I knew it was going to be kind of crackly and bad quality anyway. And I had done other recordings and video work and stuff with the kids, so they were already comfortable with me holding my phone up to them. So I think they were there. It was nice to have something familiar.
Well, it really comes across, and when I've called the Peptoc number, it's so genuine. It is not a scripted force. It comes from the heart, and I think that's what has touched me. What about you, Christine?
Yeah, so you were asking them questions, and they were just answering your questions, or they were just talking about what would make someone feel better on a sad day. That was the prompt that you asked them.
And what was great is they were coming in after working with Asherah on their poster. So sometimes they would just say what they said on the poster. But what was really fun is sometimes they got in a new zone where I've got another idea. So a lot of those recordings were something they literally just made up on the spot. I was also in a hurry. I had to get through 136 children. And so I had them all just lined up. And so they were riffing off of one another too, because they would hear what the other one would say sometimes. And so I was just recording them, and it was really fast. We didn't let them think about it too much.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
Well, I think it's just the limitation of working across so many classrooms in one day. And I think that's part of the specialist's challenge of being an art teacher and being art on the cart, or many different ways that artists go from classroom to classroom. So we were like, okay, we have 30 minutes in the kindergarten classroom, and then we got to get over to 1st grade. And so just kind of hurrying through it. And I think there's a brilliance to that, because adults especially, we tend to overthink things. And there is something about teaching a kid to just trust your instincts. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is that first thought. I think we teach ourselves out of that. Don't actually go further, but sometimes it is that first thought, and that can be that brilliant intuitive spark or whatever came to you. And so we just let them run with that.
Yeah, I think the only time I worked with them a little bit was someone was like, well, be happy. I said, well, what do you mean? I would talk to them a little bit about that and try and get something
Go
else
deeper.
and go a little bit deeper. But I also, I think we used our time limitation to our advantage. It was much more playful. It was more like a game. So I think that age group really resonated with that. Mm-hmm. So that felt really good. That came out as very genuine. Mm-hmm. I think the playfulness that you hear in the kids' voices.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And also the directness. There's some that are pretty serious and direct. So, but yeah, that was due to, I think, our not having much time.
So did you use all 120 voices?
Not every single child participated, but I did use everyone who did want to participate. There were some where the messaging wasn't quite right, or they didn't quite get the memo, or sadly, sometimes my recording wasn't very good, or they were standing too far away. But otherwise, I just recorded all of them. And then I listened to all of them and put them into different categories. And so that way it's kind of curated in that way.
I love if you're discouraged, press 1, or if you're sad, press 2. It's really lovely.
Yeah, and then the categories were based on what I heard. I didn't have a preconception of which categories I would be using.
So how did it actually translate from your phone to a hotline?
I uploaded all the MP3 files and I Googled a hotline service, and they were a startup. And then I got like the smallest subscription. I think it was $50 for a month of, I think maybe it was like 500 calls was the minimum. And I said, oh, well, that's more than enough. And I think the art program can afford $50. And so I'll just put that in there, and thinking maybe like 20 grandparents will call or something.
So is that kind of your hope? You're like, we're creating it. 20 lovely grandparents are going to call, and then the project will be complete? Is that what you...
Okay. Yeah, and then the month, and we'll have 1 month, and, it'll be up, and it'll make a few people happy, and I get the satisfaction of having created a art project that's a hotline. So
which is what you'd always wanted to do.
Yeah, so it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea that you wanted to always create a hotline, that has not come across my mind. So I'm like, that's fascinating. You wanted to create, so it was just going to be this sweet little project, maybe a 48-hour, and then you were going to wrap it up. And then what happened?
So someone posted it online. We believe it's Twitter. We're pretty sure. Yeah.
So you posted it on, do you remember what day?
No, we didn't post anything.
You didn't post
online.
anything. You
Nothing.
Created the hotline.
It went live. Mm-hmm. Jessica did all of this. She was like, I just want to do this. I'm going to do it. And I was like, great. Sounds good. And then she posted it, and it ended up coinciding with Russia invading Ukraine.
Oh.
And so we think that had a lot to do with it, because people were just reeling from that. And I don't know if it referenced that on the tweet, but you remember?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I had put it out through an email to the school. Someone got wind of it, and they posted it, even before we were able to get it out into the world ourselves.
You don't know how information is going to be flowing through the world, and this is one of those mysteries. I think with social media, it's even more mysterious. You have algorithms, and then you have people who are famous who have a big following, and then they post something, and then it goes out, and then suddenly there's just this influx of response. And then the hotline was just ringing off the hook, as they say.
So what was your reaction when it went viral the way it did? Remind us how many hits, how many calls within the frame was?
It took a few days. It was a few days after it went live. And I remember I was on a trip with my family or visiting friends in New Orleans. And I got this message from my credit card with my statement saying that I owed $45,000. And so, of course, I'm going to look into that. And I'm looking at it, and I'm noticing that it's just like, I think it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of charges.
Oh.
Because each one was 10 cents or something. And I'm seeing it, I mean, this page after page after page after page. And it keeps growing and growing and growing. And then I look and we're getting 60,000 calls per hour, every hour, 24 hours a day, 60,000 calls.
Whoa.
And so that's when it completely hijacked my life and was all consuming for a very long time. Because then it was also shutting down the hotline provider. They weren't able to keep up with that many calls, understandably. And people were sending the school emails saying that it was their new suicide hotline and it had kept them from taking their life that day. And I said, oh my gosh, we have to keep this up, no matter what. And so I called a friend who had a friend who had a friend who knew the CEO of one of the biggest telecommunications software companies in the world. And miraculously, I think it was like 1 a.m, he connects me to him. And he said, oh, yeah, sure, we'll sponsor it, no problem. And so then it took a month to get all of that worked out and get everything transferred over. But it was like one fire after another. In the meantime, in getting a email from this guy named Tim in North Dakota who's getting 2,000 calls a day from because his number is one off of ours and people were misdialing. So I had to change the number in the middle of it and find out how to let people know. And it was such a hilarious mess. And then everyone's calling the school from press from all over the world. And the press is like beating down the door of the school wanting to get in and be the first one to do it. And I remember making the call to the New York Times and saying, you cannot publish this because this guy in North Dakota is getting thousands of calls a day. And if I don't switch the phone over, he's going to, lose it. And so I got the New York Times to stop the press until I had switched it over to a new number and the new carrier. So that was hilarious.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What was going through your minds during this whole process?
I was completely blacked out by this. I was like, what is going on? First of all, this was Jessica's idea. She did this thing. And now her life is all just like taking calls from the media and like managing $40,000 on her credit card. And I'm just like, I guess I'm part of this. Like, this is so weird. But she was always she included me the entire way. So I'm like, I guess I'm part of this. Like, this is so wild. That was what was honestly like Jessica's generous spirit, where she just really let me continue to be part of the story unfolding of Peptoc, even though it was like, literally you did this. Like, you're the genius behind this. I don't know. I was feeling kind of weird about it, but she just brought me in. She was like, you can be on this call or not. Like, you want to be part of this interview with CBS? And I was like, no. I have so much stage fright. I was so awkward. It was so uncomfortable. Like, I love being goofy and theatrical, but being in the spotlight is really uncomfortable for me. Jessica's just so, like, pulls herself together and is able to speak publicly. And just, the grace of this woman is just unbelievable. So,
well, I think your next people should, or you've hadn't interviewed already, has to be theater people, because all of my theater for my whole childhood, I bring that on and I am just playing a part. And I use that every single day.
It's teacher-like, too. I think we do.
I use my improv skills every day. All the yes and, all every single day. My parenting. So I think that's what saved me, as I was just able to be, all right, I'm playing this role, and I am so glad I'm not famous.
She was just fielding all of these calls, and because she was the one who was plugged into West Side, it was like all of this information, all these emails, calls, and everything coming through West Side to Jessica, and then she was just, scheduling an interview or responding to somebody's questions, and so almost the same story was running in different media outlets, because, we're in the New York Times and CBS and NPR and, Time Weekly and all these things.
Yeah,
it was mind-boggling.
I think I was so driven to do this because I said, here is the chance for the kids to see as young children the impact that their words are having. And every time I would do a video piece and put it on YouTube with the kids, I'll be like, Miss Jessica, did we go viral? And so here you are. You're viral. And oddly, they all seem kind of nonplussed by it. Oh, I tell the story with the fourth grade teacher. I think we had CBS coming to school and we had all the cameras and everyone was super excited. And she came up to me and said, Jessica, I mean, the timing of this is uncanny because just a few days ago, I asked my fourth grade class, do you think young people can have any impact now on the world? And none of them raised their hand. Oh. And she said this, I mean, what a beautiful way to prove them wrong. It was amazing. So that, I mean, I was so determined to keep it going and have them see that. And also for the people who were really using this as a literal lifeline was so important.
Yeah.
So many stories. And Jessica would show up to school because she was continuing to run the arts program there and just trying to explain how many people were touched by this. And of course, once you get past 100 or, the amount of people that you could imagine in a room or something, then you're up in the millions and it just doesn't really make sense. It's abstract at that point, but this many people, millions called. And
today.
It's like
how Manhattan called today.
So trying to explain that just to get it across, but it is a bit of a like, what does that mean? Yeah. And that's what we just kind of joke about it. We're like, 40,000 people called today or this month, and it's hard to fathom.
It's hard to fathom.
There's literally people picking up the phone, dialing the number, calling it, having a personal experience with it. And some of those people donate to us. Some of those people, tell friends. Some people write letters. And, so it's really...
No, if you look it up on Instagram or whatever, there's so many people giving their personal stories of how it impacted them. Yeah. The power of student voice. We want to sort of transition into talking about that.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Like the messages that these little people are delivering to people all over the world that are making such a huge impact. Mm-hmm. So beautiful.
Yeah. And I think throughout the really crazy part of after with all the calls and all the press and everything, I think I was so emotional during that time because I was really working through like the why. Of course they're powerful, and I get to see that every day. And yes, but why now? And why is this global? And why is this touching all, crossing socioeconomic, cultural barriers? And what is happening with these kids? Why is this so unifying and touching people so profoundly? And at the time, and it continues, I think we're the world's so fractured, and I think to hear these little kids' voices and the new generation giving us pep talks, I think is incredibly touching and profound and very powerful on so many levels. Mm-hmm. And I think it also touches on what I see in working with adults and working with kindergartners, seeing adults, when I'm working with them, break through their fear, they're afraid of drawing or something. Suddenly they become more playful and open. I think they're tapping into that childhood self that maybe they had rejected. And I think we are all carrying that. I think that touches on it. I know that many psychologists have brought that back to speaking to our own inner child, but also speaking to that inner child that whether we were that inner child or not, this is this ideal, very open, very forgiving, very wise child I think we all carry within us.
I mean, that's the heart of kindergarten is there's this kind of deep soul work. And there's this some people will say it's innocence, but it's just a true nature. And we do tamper it down as we get older. We either overthink things or we shut down. And so it's so important to kind of go back to that. And I think that's the resonance with these young people and their messages. It just touches you in a way that other words maybe don't, but their words are so pure, I guess is the word I'm thinking of.
I think it touches on, there's something within our culture that undervalues young people in their innate power and how they can teach us. And, as a mother, my daughter, she was only like a year and a half when my mom died. And my mom had cancer and I was caring for her. And I would go, and she was my first child. And I would go and care for my mother. And then I would come home and I would hold my baby. And I said, oh my gosh, my whole nervous system would just reset. I said, I thought I was just supposed to care for the child. I didn't know that my child would be caring for me and comforting me. So I'm seeing that also in this hotline and this like really strong reactions people are having, because it is so comforting to hear a child or, to feel comforted by a child.
That's beautiful.
I love so much that, it's giving me faith in humanity because they're actually listening. They took it, they listened. They heard it. I mean, it's so, they didn't have to. They didn't have to call the hotline, or that didn't have to happen. But the fact that not only did it happen, but they listened. So it really did change something.
I think that we reject young people's voices a lot and diminish them, like you were saying, and every person wants to be heard. And I think there is something about maybe as an adult calling and listening to these voices and feeling like that inner child is being listened to, and that's healing in some way. And
not them just going, oh, that's so cute, what a cute idea.
Exactly.
It went way deeper than that.
And people are surprised by their emotional reaction to it because they think they're just going to experience something surface level and cute, but it goes much deeper than that. And I think another thing, going back to diminishing children's voices in our culture. And I think it's also profound to see that kids they're in this world, they're observing what's happening, they're finding their own coping mechanisms, they're learning from others, they're learning from one another, and they're participating in this current world. They're not just in their room playing with toys. And I think we forget as adults that they're right there with us. And hearing everything. And I think we really take that for granted.
yeah, they're already part of the world. It's not like they're our future, like they're already here with us and participating in the world.
We do dismiss that, don't we, as a culture and across the world. I feel like it's like, oh, they're just little kids. They don't know, but they do. They feel deeply.
I think it's also a way of protecting them too. They're like, oh, well, they're over there. They're not actually seeing what's happening. We'll just keep them with their toys, but not thinking that they're actually listening and seeing and observing too.
Oh, yeah, they are. Eyes and ears wide open. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book that you guys put together? You are amazing like a rocket. How did you get that great idea?
Yeah, well, Jessica and I knew we wanted to make a book at some point. We have more ideas on the next book, which we can talk about later.
Yes.
But after the Peptoc hotline went viral, there was something that we felt, now we're collaborating. We're, first of all, just going to keep collaborating forever. And the Peptoc project was this two-parter. So there was the auditory part, and then there was the visual part. And so the posters it was this visual part that only people locally saw, really. So, once the hotline went viral, we'd post some posters online and people would see that. But what we thought was that more people could be part of the project through inviting people around the world, young people 21 and under is what we decided to include to create this book. We got a book agent, and we really had all these opportunities coming to us because of the platform that the hotline got in the world. And people were willing to work with us because of that. So it gave us this other opportunity to create the book. And really between January and June, right?
It was so
Oh, you did
fast.
it in 6 months?
We made the
we
book
did.
in 6 months. We put the call out for posters. We invited young people across the world to respond to the guiding question. And then we just furiously contacted every person we knew across the world that we could think of because we wanted it to be as diverse of geography as possible. And we got back just incredible posters. And then another aspect was the back of the book. If you go to the back, there's the interviews with some of the organizations who took on the project. So the idea was anyone could participate. Some people were organizations offering that to their young people they worked with, and then some submissions were individual young people who would send us what they created.
So the book includes all the places that participated and all the work that the students did, and also it's so sweet, like quotations that from the students of their experience doing the project.
Yeah, it was kind of like their artist statement.
Their artist
for
statement.
what they were making. But also doing the book and the poster project was also our response to so many people asking to participate. And they're like, we want to do a hotline. How can we do it? Can we put this? Do you have a curriculum sheet? How do we do this? And we said, well, no, we don't, but we'll put it online and you can do posters because it's so simple. And hotline's complicated because if someone posts it online and it goes viral, you too may have $45,000 on your credit card. So we talked a lot about just how wonderful to have this incredibly simple, accessible project. You need a piece of paper and a pen, and most places all around the world have access to that. So we just wanted to show that, it's just a few words, a piece of paper. It's not hard. It's not hard to make an impact. So we really leaned into that element of it.
The book is so beautiful. I just come through it all the time just because it's just all those posters of words of encouragement, and it literally spans the globe. It's like India, Costa Rica, South Bronx. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and it was, an amazing experience for us to get to work with all these different kids and then get to meet, talk with the artists and the teachers and the youth organizers that we got to work with. And the idea was they were, to take the project on as their own. And it was so inspiring to hear their stories and their experience and how they decided to kind of tweak the project here and there. Mm-hmm. You want to give the example of the artist who was working with the kids in Philadelphia?
Ali Ruffner, this artist, she was working at a public school and she wanted to do the project. I think they were around first grade, second grade maybe. And what they did was they did the poster project, so all the kids made their posters, and then they set up a microphone in the hallway, and they had pairs of students come out and read their pep talks to each other, and they filmed it. So this video was actually shown in an exhibition. It was I think at a local college or something. So they had all the posters hanging on the wall and this video with couches around, so people would just come and sit and watch these kids give each other pep talks, and it was just the most touching, sweetest thing to see them, because you don't want to isolate the kids, right? So they were together so they could really give each other the pep talks.
That's really neat.
There's at least one still of that in the book that you can see in an interview with Ali about how she did that.
How did the kids feel about doing that with each other?
Based on just watching them in the video, there was just so much joy. They're like wiggling around and so excited, and some of them are kind of shy, and, just all the personalities you see, but it felt powerful to watch.
When you interviewed the people involved, did you travel places, or how did that happen, like logistically?
Everything was virtual.
Everything was virtual.
Yeah, yeah. So, we worked with a group in India and Ghana and Philly and Costa Rica, and those are some of the interviews that we did. So all of those, we didn't around the world or anything.
I had this
We're able
image of
to-
you guys flying around.
Wouldn't
Like,
that be fun?
that would be the dream. I think we would like to have that kind of lifestyle here and there.
for your
but-
next book, let's put it out there.
Look, we came to LA. So
Yeah, you
this was
did.
a really big step for us. This is our first work trip.
I love that you have your first work trip with us.
It's really sweet.
Well, when we talked online with each other, it was like, I'm like, and when you said we could fly down, I'm like, yes, please come down, because your passion and your charisma just are so infectious. You just want to get to know you both.
Well, we felt the same about you. We said, let's just all be in the same room together.
And here we are.
Yes.
Let's see. Was there a message or an illustration that deeply moved you? Tell us a little bit about that. Anything that really stood out?
Some of them I just keep returning to and I'm drawn to for one reason or another. One of them is I like your personality like strawberries, which is one of the students in Philadelphia. I just thought, what a neat way to put it, that they were thinking, I like you I like you in a way that I love strawberries, but it's not that I just like you. I like your personality. And it's just so specific in this way that I found it just kind of like made my heart laugh. Like it just touched me in this way that I thought was so earnest and poetic and somehow.
Isn't that how art is? Something you
Yeah.
just go, I don't know why I really like that piece of music or that art piece. You just are drawn to it. So those messages, you just have that feeling.
Yeah. And there's some other ones. I feel like you came back to one in particular by a high school student, right, at ArtQuest.
It's okay to take a break. Don't overwork yourself.
It's like the
It's
message you need
fantastic.
to hear.
Another one, when I was recording the kids, I remember I had them all in a line, getting ready to be recorded, and they were hilarious, and we're all laughing and hearing them give their different things. And then this one girl marches up and says, without hesitation, she says, I trust you can make things right. And it hit me so hard. And she just walked away. And I said, wow.
I trust that you can make things right.
Yes.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
So
That was a good message to adults.
Absolutely.
a great message to adults. How were they received? I mean, did you get feedback from your community in terms of what the posters did? I mean, that you had just gone through fires and it was right after COVID. And as you said, the war, there was a lot going on. What was the feedback from the posters?
I mean, the interesting thing about it is that the whole idea was that it's this anonymous act. So without having a lot of feedback loop, you don't get to hear from everyone. But we both were actually living in downtown Healdsburg at the time. So I did hear from some neighbors who knew that we had done that and that they loved seeing them around. And they're all very colorful. And, you're going on your walk around the neighborhood and you can run into these signs and they're just on the poles. And there were some installations downtown at our local little grocery store and a local bakery. So I feel like we got more feedback from those locations.
Yeah, and I think, that element was super important to us, that the kids are just putting something up without getting the immediate gratification. No one was pushing the like button or the share button. It was just this very private and selfless act. And that's what people were experiencing. They had no idea what the project was. We didn't even say what it was, or at the time, I don't think we didn't even have a website or anything. It was just this anonymous series installation of posters. There was a market that served sandwiches and they have a little counter. Yeah. So I did an installation. I asked to put them like a huge installation of all the posters on the window that you face while you're eating your sandwich. And they were thrilled and put that along. And I loved going there and just sort of standing back and watching people have their experience and take a little tearaway that was like a little heart or a drawing of a bear and tuck it into their pocket. It was nice to just get to step back and see people interacting with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a photo of that in the book, isn't there? Like there's the wall.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So did you go on field trips and put them around, or like how did they get them out there?
These kids all live in rural Healdsburg, and so it was one of those things where it's like, how are you going to get the kids here to do it or whatnot? I remember walking around with a couple friends and just hanging them up all over the neighborhoods.
And I had, since I have the advantage of having kids in that school, I took a little band of them and their friends, and we would hang things up. So they got that experience as well. Lots of photo ops, use my kids, bless them.
Yeah. The poster children of our poster project.
Yeah.
And the graphic artist and the logo designer.
It's wonderful.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
So you've gotten this book launch. You said you're working on another book. Is that what you were saying? Or
Well, we had
A dream.
Actually, the
Another.
dream relates to what you all are doing. So we really are excited to do our own podcast.
Oh, wonderful.
And so our vision is to be able to talk to others and create our own network of people that we can also collaborate with.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Be doing it.
You both are very talented artists in your own way, but to collaborate, it expands and grows, and to meet with others as well. I'm so excited for you guys to do that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you'll just see what happens. You don't really have any control over what it's going to look like or what's going to happen. So that's the creative process right there. It's so fun.
That's so impressive to me because I'm such a type A. Like, I could never live my life that way.
That is my life.
You are true artists because I'd be like, well, what's happening now? I don't know. Like, the I don't know piece is, I need more of that, definitely. So that's so curious.
think we put a lot of work into the concept around it. What is our messaging? What questions are we asking? Like what you're doing, you have your outline, what questions you're going to ask. But what's our philosophy and our goal around this? And we speak very much as artists and in the art world, and seeing, for me, what I call the disservice that the art world has done to creativity and humans, and that we've made creativity that's something that's only for a select few. And we call them artists. Those artists show in galleries, people buy their work, and it's this commodified thing. Whereas we both really feel that to be human is to be creative. And so we're also interested in seeing what's needed and thinking about how you can be of service or contribute in your own way, within your own capacity and your own skill set and your own time. What are the simple things that people have decided to do that have had both a small and a big impact? And then the other aspect of the art world is authorship, and the artist signing their painting and this is mine and this is my work and this is my genius. Instead saying, well, here's an idea, copy it, continue it, make it your own, and let's crowdsource all of these different ideas and all these contributions, and that will inspire someone else to do something else. So that's, I think, the philosophy behind this idea of a podcast and an eventual book. But like the Trojan horse, how we'll get there, we want to take all of these posters and keep working with more kids and do a billboard project that goes across the country. And the fantasy is to get to work with all of these different youth groups where we'll physically get to go and work with them.
Yes.
Do this really simple poster idea and take a few and put them on as many billboards as we can across the country. Again, very simple, not an original idea. Artists have been doing billboards since billboards existed. But just this very simple act. And then maybe one day at the very end, every single poster will be posted on every single LED screen all around Times Square.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Right? Cry.
The idea is that
So much better.
all along the way, on our cross-country trip, we get to meet all of these people who are doing simple acts and getting introduced to all these different people. So that'll kind of be our way of collecting people and meeting people and collaborating.
I just love how much faith you have and how much you trust the process, because that's what I hear from you. That's a big part of your, you just believe that it's happening, and you don't know how it's happening or where it's going to go, but you have so much faith.
You just put out the initial idea. It may then turn into something completely different,
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a painter, I'll go about starting a painting and then I'll make a mistake and then it has to be turned into something else. And then in the process, I learn some new thing about the material I'm using that I'm like, oh my God, that took me 25 years to figure out. And then I'll apply that to the next thing.
Only 25 years.
So but it's like that kind of experimentation, and
It's emergent, and it's way more fun that way. Because to me, if I know every step of the way, I'm already checked out. Like my brain doesn't. If I know, I'm going to do this and then this and then this, I'm like, why even do it at this point? It's like I already imagined that it was done, and it was what I thought.
Yes.
I want to be engaged in a process that I don't have control over, because then I'm getting to see something come about that is new and interesting. I think that's why I like working with people, because people are the special sauce that makes things, whoa, what is going to happen? I don't know. And we talk, it's like, what are you going to say? I don't have control over what you're going to say.
Yeah, no.
And I'm going to respond to that. We're in a conversation. That's like the art that we do.
and that's art.
Yeah.
I've noticed a little pattern with you. You have these ideas, you work on it, and then as you execute it, you do have a deadline. So like
Deadlines help a lot.
So do you set up a deadline like for the hotline project and then the book project?
That was just the deadline that we got from our publishers.
Oh.
Sometimes it's external, which is helpful. I mean, I do really well when I have parameters. It can't just be completely like everything, because then I'm like, what do I? It could be anything, and then what do you push up against?
Okay.
And so something about design parameters or time parameters, or I think for the Billboard project, we haven't found that parameter yet, and we're feeling our way forward. Another value that Jessica and I have is like, if we're like banging our head against a wall, then it's probably not the right thing yet. So we really we're like feeling for right timing, and also alignment of, we need our resources, we need the money to do it. We want to take over the AI alley in San Francisco, where you have all the billboards that have AI advertisements, and that's going to take some money. So we got to get that fundraising going, and we don't have that fundraising person yet, but we invite all collaborators to come forward and help us out with that part. So, we're kind of it's a universal dance. Yeah.
So we'll put it out there.
Yeah,
How can we help?
We need $1 million
for the Bay Area.
Started.
all the AI billboards in the Bay Area.
That's another part of the Billboard project, is that young people from that area get to see their messages in where they live, so it'll be local to each area that we work with.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then just going through the whole country, getting that across.
We'll have different legs of the journey, go to the south.
And then celebration in New York, Times Square.
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
There's
On New Year's Eve.
the vision.
Let's do it. With the crystal ball going down. Oh my goodness. So let's go into practical takeaways.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Christine.
So we like to talk to our families about what they can do if they're working with their children. And what do you think some families can do to create encouragement rituals at home?
My latest thing that I'm doing in both the classroom and at home with my kids, I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old. And what I'm doing in the classroom, I have everyone stop. At home, maybe it's after a meal, or we're getting ready for bed, or if we're done with it's coming to the end of my time with my class, I stop. I say, everyone stop, look around, what's needed, and do it. With my class, we talk a little bit about what that means, what is needed. And, it's such a open idea, but the practical side is picking up all the pencils off the floor or putting the dishes away. But it may also be helping the kid who's not quite done, who's frustrated and is freaking out because they want to be done by the end, reminding them that they don't have to be finished. Or, there's so many different levels to that. So
That's a great open-ended question.
That's my current theme. What is needed?
What is needed?
Yeah, what is needed?
And really expanding the idea of what is needed. What does what is needed mean? So a student might need help, or a student's frustrated. Like, go deeper than just putting away the pencils.
And I think started to work. It is really interesting to see. It's just an experiment I'm doing to see the kids. Initially, as soon as you say that, it's no longer about them and the mess that they made or that other person made, so I'm not going to clean that up. I mean, it just needs to be done. So I've noticed that some of the kids are starting to be like, oh, well, I'm not cleaning that up. That's theirs. That conversation doesn't seem to be happening as much. So I can report back.
I love that.
But maybe the parents can join me in the experiment.
What does that look like at your house with your teenager and tween almost?
What I've noticed, this is brand new. I've been doing this for like a month. What's brand new in my family, I notice that they have to get out of their head and like think about what they want to do. My son wants to go back and read his comic book, and my daughter wants to go back and, respond to the text message from her friend. It puts them in the present space. So that they say, oh, I am in this space with these other people and we're sharing this space. And I think it kind of brings us all back into the present moment.
I was going to say something similar. I think anything that puts you in the present moment, it's a habit that you have to keep doing over and over and over again. And that's how mindfulness works. It's like you fall out, you go to the past or you go to the future, and then you get kind of wigged out and you have to just keep noticing what's happening here and now. And I remember I used to teach a class called 6th grade seminar, and I remember talking about gratitude and how it does actually change the chemistry of your brain. And it is a habit that once you practice it, like a gratitude journal, for example, I think it's like 6 weeks or something. But even after a few days, you're starting to notice the good instead of the bad. And since we have this negative bias, it's something we need to actively practice, because we can all get into griping.
Oh, yes.
And so just remembering, like, oh, yeah, wow, beautiful lighting on the grass. And yeah, thank you for getting me water. And, just little things. And I think families could do that, just even like a notebook that they each add to on a certain time of day or something like that, or just out loud or on the table, brings us back to that practice. And it's those habits that, it actually wires our brain differently.
Yeah, I've heard somewhere that our brains are wired to be disgruntled. So you have to actively work at gratitude and finding joy, even in the midst of maybe some things are difficult.
Exactly.
But I do like the ritualized griping, though. Like intentional griping, I think is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing that it's kind of unnecessary to be that way, but also you have to get it out somehow.
You have to get it. You need to vent.
But it somehow it brings attention to, okay, I'm feeling this way, and now I'm going to intentionally let it out. And I'm also going to ask permission to make sure everyone's okay.
And I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to get. Like my husband and I do that. We kind of trade time supporting each other.
Who's setting a timer?
Yeah, because then you're actually deciding, look, we're both in a funk. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. You're going to say whatever you want. You're just going to really go for it and get it out. And then you're going to be done. The timer's going to go off. Then it's going to be my turn for 3 minutes. And you're just going to listen to me.
I do that with my students too. And, drawing's hard. There's so much pressure around it. And I'll see a kid just like with their eraser. I mean, I really hate erasers. But somehow they sneak them in. I don't know why. And I see some kid obsessively erasing everything. And I just go over and I'm like, tear it up. Just tear it up. Or just like crinkle it up or tear it. And they go, what? I say, yeah, it's going to feel really good. and because I see it bubbling up. And I mean, it's such a shocking thing for people. They the idea is you're to make this like beautiful, precious thing. And maybe you've been working on it for an hour and you've been hating the whole process, and it feels so good to
Let it go.
tear it
Just
up.
let it
So that's
go.
like a similar ritualized griping.
I'm obsessed with the griping idea. I mean, because, we all gripe when we come home, but I've never thought about like putting it. You do say, oh, what was the best part of your day? What do you have gratitude? We all do when we're raising children. We think about those things, but we don't put griping into it. We put the other things into it.
But put in a time limit and really go all out.
Really do it.
Really not exaggerate, but really be dramatic.
Yeah, do it. But actually commit.
I actually heard that someone did that. I can't remember where I heard this story, but their kid was starting to cuss a bunch.
Oh.
And they were going to go to school and start cussing. So they gave him like, okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes before you go to school. And then you can't say those words anymore.
Get it out.
Get it all out. 'Cause then it's off the table. So
Yeah, it becomes so taboo. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just say these words.
go
And
on.
Let's bring it on down a notch. It's not the end of the world. Right. So this is a part we talk about our big little lessons, because we always learn so much from doing our talks, meeting with you today. My big little lesson, there's so many, but it comes back to this idea of some sort of writing tool and some sort of paper and creating something of kindness, sharing with others. That to me, it's just the simple, it's beautiful, and it's doable for all of us. And I think it's something we should all cultivate. And I love your projects so much. As someone who doesn't think of myself as very artistic, I'm like, I can do that. I can get a piece of paper, I can get a writing tool, and I can come up with a simple message that's really meaningful. So thank you for teaching me that. So many lessons. Christine, how about you?
I love the idea. Well, there's so many.
I know, it's hard.
The creativity piece is so important. What does it mean to be a creative person? And like, why are people feeling like they can't be creative with our own students? Because so much of what we do in school is like product. We want product from them. And
In a timely manner.
With deadlines. And we actually had this conversation with an art teacher when we were talking a lot about creativity and just opening up that, because it's about having an idea and how you're going to make your idea happen. But also, you've both impressed me so much with just your journey and how you've trusted the process also. And I think listening to your instinct, following your instincts, which you talked about a little bit at the beginning, like we don't always do that.
I think a lot with curriculum, and this is what you need to do, and you have standards that need to be met, and you have a test that needs to happen. I mean, it's very confining. I always think I have the best job in the world because I don't have those. And I have studied the Common Core of California, and every time I said, well, I did that yesterday. I mean, we hit all of these yesterday. So it's very freeing in that way. So I feel very...
We're so lucky because we teach kindergarten. So we do have more freedom, I think. And in our school, we don't have the Common Core. So we are super lucky.
You get to be with the greatest artists on the planet.
Yes,
Greatest.
we do. Yes,
I live
we do.
to go in the kindergarten classroom. They just teach me. I just sit there.
And we're going tomorrow.
Yes. So you're coming to work with our students tomorrow. And I am just giddy over that. So that's so exciting.
Well, we always like to give our listeners an optional reflection question. And I would say to listeners, start an encouragement board at home or at your school. And certainly get the Peptoc, the Amazing Like a Rocket book, because it'll just put a smile on your face. And then on the back, it has the Peptoc number to call, the hotline. Where can we guide our listeners to finding your book? They're available.
They can check out our website, peptoc.org. So it's PEPTOC.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to reach out to us on email, it's info@peptoc.org. And we just love hearing from people what their experiences have been. And also if they want to collaborate with us, if they know of any really big, wealthy people who want to donate to us,
all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Thankfully,
some
our
connections.
callers, their donations alone are keeping the hotline going. We're no longer, that sponsorship
Oh, it ended.
expired after a year.
Okay.
And now we've entirely
caller.
based on caller donations. Okay. That's how it's run. And the book is distributed by Simon & Schuster, so it's
on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. It's wherever books are sold.
I would say if you go to your local bookstore and they don't have it, you can ask them to get it for you, and then you're not supporting Amazon, which I love. Yes. So you can support your local bookstore
I
just by
love the
asking
local
them to
bookstores.
order it.
That's a great way to get that. Are there any closing thoughts that maybe we didn't cover?
I feel like for me, it's just been this journey that, like we've talked about, this improvisation, not being in charge of my life in a certain way, but to the fact that Jessica and we did get to collaborate, and this has led us down this path of continuing to do this project, to keep evolving, and that you really don't know what one thing's going to lead you to. And so, yeah, just to say yes, like the yes and improvisational value of choosing life and getting to see kind of where it goes. And I think even in little ways that we can find to, take a walk and not know where you're going and just see, you want to go right or left or straight, just, on each corner, just kind of decide which feels right to you. So finding those moments to let something come forward and
be spontaneous.
Discover. Yeah. Find space in your life for spontaneity and see what happens. Yeah.
Jessica and Asherah, thank you so much for sharing your hearts with us and for reminding us that even the smallest words of encouragement can make a lasting impact.
Your work through Peptoc is such a beautiful example of how simple messages can lift others up and create real connection in our communities. No, in our world.
In our world. It's going to happen. It's happening.
It happened.
It did happen. Yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
You just have to try.
Yep. That's
no idea how far your work can go.
Well, for listeners, if you want to follow us on Instagram, we're at Teach Big Little Lessons, or you can reach out to us by email at teachbiglittlelessons@gmail.com.
And we'll include all the links and all the good stuff in our show notes. So we always like to say we don't have all the answers, but we do have a lot of experience because big little lessons are everywhere.
Thank you so much.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.